so excited because I have with me a miraculous filmmaker who actually did a film of my sister, but that's another story. And not only is he a filmmaker, he's everything. He's a Renaissance man because he teaches young people how to be filmmakers. He makes films, as I said. And I would say he also teaches people how to learn about other peoples. In other words, he has a film that you all must see called Road to Justice.
I was a big mouth as a kid. I questioned everything. If we were walking on the same sidewalk, I would have looked the white man in the eye. Down south, my mouth could have probably got me in trouble.
I worry about the direction that we're heading in. This problem that we have that is America.
But I'm not going to talk about that now. First, I want to ask Andre Robert Lee to tell us about his life from the time he was a little boy and what made him into who he is today, which is a very simple question. But now I'm going to leave this in Andre's hands so that you get to know this absolutely beautiful, charming man, Andre.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for having me, Catherine.
Oh.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's I like that question or asking me to talk about who I am from the beginning. I'll spare you, won't tell you all the details.
No, I want all of them.
I'll start with this. Last night, someone asked me this question, which was really powerful. She said, name 3 people that really influence your life. And I think that giving that answer will help talk about who I am, you know, and 2 of them were teachers and one is a pretty famous person. But the first one I talked about was a woman named Elizabeth Alexander. So I went to Germantown Friends School on a big scholarship and I got there and it was a great institution. I had a wonderful time, you know, and I took this great class with Elizabeth. She happened to be doing her PhD at UPenn at the time. And she came and taught at Germantown Friends School.
What was she teaching?
She taught essentially English classes. So she came into, had a bit of class, it was in the evenings, which I thought was so exciting as a 10th grader. And the class was called The African American Poetry Beyond the Blues. And and we were reading all this great poetry and this great literature. And at the end of the class, she said, Andre, you know, you're really great, you're wonderful, I love you, you're popular in the school, you have lots of friends, but you're not a good writer. Ooh. And if you work with me, I can help you become a better writer. And she asked me to spend the summer with her down at UPenn on campus, the summer after my sophomore year in high school, writing. And so we were writing and we read Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man. She had me read the introduction rather, 5 times and write essays connected to it. And, you know, it's just powerful because she set me down and she said, you know, it's a science and let's help you learn it because you weren't taught it the way you need to know it. Wow. You know, and she's just an incredible person. You may know her because she read the poem at Obama's first inauguration.
Praise song for the day. Each day we go about our business, walking past each other, catching each other's eyes or not, about to speak or speaking. All about us is noise. All about us is noise and bramble, thorn and din, each one of our ancestors on our tongues.
That young woman?
Elizabeth Alexander. That was my teacher.
Goodness, she was wonderful.
She's incredible. She still is. And she's now president of the Mellon Foundation.
Well, how old is she?
She's probably, if she's 60 now, she's probably 60.
She looked like a baby at that time. Well, of course she was a baby then, I guess.
Yeah, and now she's head of the Mellon Foundation, and she's just great.
Oh, wonderful. She's
great. And that was one woman. And then I mentioned another teacher, but the other person that I was thinking about, which sounds kind of crazy to say, but it really, I think it was a big launching moment. I was Diana Ross's personal assistant for a little while. Of course I was, right? And
Her personal assistant?
her personal
Oh,
assistant.
honey, you can't be any better than that. My God.
Going to our house every day in Greenwich, Connecticut. And it wasn't. I had never gotten fired from a job ever until then, and I got fired 6 times.
From her?
Yeah, totally. But she would fire me, and by the time I got home, she'd call, come back. But the last time she fired me, she said, I've been thinking about who you are and watching you, and you're someone who should be making and creating and developing and doing stuff, not here being someone's assistant. And I told her, I said, but I'm having so many opportunities and meeting people, learning from you. This is a great way. And she goes, I really think you should be out on the road making and not inside. And I was her first male assistant ever. Here's a fun fact. I don't want to say his name, but the current president had a house not too far from her, up the road. And there were these 2 golden retrievers. And every morning they would be at her front gate wagging their tails like, save us, save us, save us. And it was my job to walk them back up to the other house. It was one of my little duties. But it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. And being with her was just incredible. The people that called that house and learning from her and just being, she's huge. And she really is, she's a mom. She's like a mother. You ever notice you never hear about her kids being in trouble or caught out there on drugs or acting up? It's because she's a Black Detroit mother from the projects that didn't take no stuff from her kids.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's great to hear.
Yeah.
It is great to hear. And there were 3 people that you said.
There was another teacher named Charlotte Baker, who was my 9th grade English teacher, 9th grade and 11th grade also. And she handed me James Baldwin's Go Tell on the Mountain when I was about 15. And I was like, how does this man know my life story? When I read it. Because I grew up in a church and knew all that he was discussing. And she's still in my life now. Charlotte and Elizabeth are still in my life. Miss Ross, not so much. I've seen her and she said hello, but the other 2.
I have to say this though. This is such an interesting person and an interesting life. But you're talking about when you were maybe 15 and then up.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear, because I saw the pictures of your mother and your sister, and I want to hear about that part of your life too, because that part of everyone's life is the stamp that puts it on you. I mean, in my family, God, that part was really, and you know a lot of it, so you probably know. But tell us about that too, before you became 15 and became the community scholar, the genius that there was, and bringing them into the school. He went to the same high school as I did, except I'm like 100 years older than he is. But we went to the same high school, which was a Quaker high school. And anyway, that's another story. So here, tell the beginning.
The beginning, I had my mother raised me as a single parent. We lived for a while with my grandmother, Juanita Marcus. She was an incredible woman, very regal woman. I tell people that I am the descendant of people that escaped the Jim Crow South, refugees of the Jim Crow South, I call it.
Mm-hmm.
And
but your name is Robert Lee.
Andre Robert Lee, yeah, it's clear. I'm the descendant of enslaved people.
Yes,
There's
that's
just
right.
no question.
And were you probably on his Robert?
Who knows?
Go on.
That's Robert's my father's name, and they gave me that name.
I see.
I got it from him. So these folks migrated to Philadelphia, and that's where I was raised by just a house of powerful women. And people often said, when you get in front of audiences and you speak so clearly and you're not nervous, I said, I get it from growing up with a mother who was always president of some organization at the church, and I would sit and wait and watch. Because there was a Southern Baptist church, and we were in church all day Sunday. We'd leave the house.
Why is that it seems that I hear this all the time from people?
Because it's true.
But they had to go to church?
Yeah. You had no choice. When you think about, I think about this, especially in the Black church. I grew up thinking like, why is this institution so serious to them? And you think about it, these are people who are working service jobs all week.
Mhm.
They're janitors, they're nurses, they're assistants. They're working in factories, they have hard
Cooks.
labor jobs,
They're
cooks.
everything. Yeah.
And on Sunday, they're president, they're treasurer of the church, they're a deacon, and they're running an institution that's their own. So this is a chance to have power, access, and build your own community that you're experiencing your own, and you're not working for someone. So my mind was like, this is why we're in church all day Sunday, because it meant so much to these people beyond religion and faith and all that. Like as a child, I was like, I looked around and I said, oh, this is a community. Like, you're a janitor at the largest building downtown or during the week in Philadelphia, but on Sunday you're president of the trustee organization. Managing a couple $100,000 worth of money.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. Think about that. Think about what that means to a person.
Oh,
And these are folks who migrated from the South, and they had a storefront, smaller church, and they bought a bigger church in North Philadelphia. It was they raised money. I wasn't born, but the day they bought the church, everybody got a box, and they all marched from one church to the other to arrive in this space. And the church still stands today, and it was a Gaston Presbyterian building at 11th and Lehigh. It is a grand building. And this is what these people who were Southern people who were, I talk about this in terms of growing up. When I think about my family's financial situation versus others, for a while, I thought it was because we were less. We didn't work as hard. We weren't as smart.
Oh,
and as I start to understand systemic racism, it's like, oh, well, my grandmother went to the bank to get a loan. She was given this loan and told she can live in this space, versus someone else who's has the same exact job who's given this loan until they can live here. It's just control the problem. So these are the people that raised me. My mother, my sister, and my grandmother. I lived with them. They brought me up and taught me to be who I am, and and I was a little special weird boy who liked to read and all that stuff. And
That weird boy, I love it.
Yeah.
The little weird boy. Now, but how did you get the scholarship that you did to Germantown Friends School?
Yeah, well, my mother, it's funny, when I first showed my first film, Prep School Negro, at Germantown Friends School.
Why are we using the term Negro?
When I first started doing research around the topic,
Yes.
and looking through the paperwork, and they were talking about placing the Negroes in these schools, and I was like, they called us that? My mother and my grandmother and my aunt all worked in a factory. The man who owned the factory, his son was in my class. I'm Andre Robert Lee. I grew up in the ghettos of Philadelphia. People always told me I got a golden ticket. When I was 14, I got a scholarship to attend a prestigious private prep school. As soon as I set foot in the school, I started to go in a separate direction from my family. And now, 20 years later, I'm trying to figure out what it all means.
I showed it there and said, what do you all think about this? And the whole room was very quiet. And I got nervous, like, oh no. And then I remember when the Quakers are quiet. And then someone said, it's powerful for us because we knew your mother so well. And it was hard because the movie talks about her loss. And it's hard for us to witness and see this. And then someone in the room, Chris Coyle, everybody know Chris Coyle. He was there and he raised his hand and said, well, how did you first really, truly learn about Germantown Friends School? I said, oh, my mother was seeing a therapist that we found out about secretly. We found out after she passed away that she had been seeing a therapist for years to help her think about her life and existence and survival.
My God.
Yeah, exactly. Well, here's the thing. I said,
did you know she had a therapist?
Yeah, I kind of knew because I went to see him when I was about 13, and one was like children and parent situations. I thought nothing of it. And so and then in that session, I said, oh yeah, I think his name was, and I said his name. They said, oh, I know his name. I have this card on my desk. And I was like, you do? And they said, yeah, we know him well. And so I called him. He goes, oh, Andre, he started listing my life. And I was like, how do you know all this stuff? He said, well, your mother, that's why I learned that she had been seeing a therapist. And I called my sister and I was like, can you believe this? And so he said to me, he said, when your mother walked in the room, she said, my boy needs something. And I don't know what it is. she couldn't say Germantown Friends School, kind of education. She said, my boy needs something. And he suggested I attend the basketball reading clinic. And I went there for the summer, and I was horrible at basketball, but a very good reader. And towards the end of the year, in August, the principal, David Felsen, said, how about coming to school here? And I was, well, what school? So I didn't recognize it. And took the test and got in late August. And that's how it happened.
Was there a test?
Oh, yeah, that was a total test. I sat in a room and had blocks and numbers and all kinds of tests, yeah.
How many were up for it?
I don't know, because I was so late. It was like, this was like August 15th. I was already enrolled to go to a Catholic high school in Philadelphia. I had no intention of Germantown Friends School.
It's amazing because a Germantown Friends School has different feelings for all of us. I mean, you know, it was a great thing for you. You said you loved it. I couldn't read till the 4th grade. I've had something, and it was so interesting today. I am able to memorize lines better than anybody I know. I can get a script of 5, pages, and I learn it. And it must be something that has to do with right, left brain, something or other. But they thought I was dumb. And at that time, Germantown Friends didn't know what to do in those days. They didn't know about reading and things like that. And it was just horrible. But I see that they learned, Germantown Friends School learned about their mistakes. And
Some of them.
I guess some of them. But the thing that this prep school Negro, this is, you got to hear this story. This is a wonderful film, another film that I was going to tell you all about. And I have to tell you one thing. If you hear noises in the side, it's because my dog is snoring. And I don't know what to do about it. But we will forget about the strange sounds from my side. But we will go ahead with Andre. Anyway, he did a film. Was it your first film?
My first one I directed, yeah.
And it was called Prep School Negro because this gorgeous creature went into a Quaker school with people who had faces like me. There was nobody. Oh, yes, there was, because my class had the first black person. The first 2 black people were in my class. But they didn't learn from that, did they?
No. It's it's funny because we're sitting in a room with another person went there that I don't think has the best memory of the place, but I'll let him tell his story. So. And I think that, it's an imperfect institution. It's a great institution at the same time. And, has great intentions. And it also has lots of different people. And I think that people are there trying to figure out who they are. And there's one great moment in the Prep School Negro where I dealt with this kid who was in my class. His name was Ian. And Ian would constantly tease me and come at me because I came from North Philadelphia and I spoke a certain kind of way. And I used to say ax, so can I ask you a question? And Ian was like, if you ask me, I will bleed. And I was like, what does that mean? I was so confused as a 9th grader. But I talked to him as an adult. And I was like, what was that about? And he said, Andre, I was a lower income white kid at the school. And by teasing you, I was taking the attention away from me being lower income at this institution full of very, very wealthy people. So I probably made fun of you and teased you and got on your case to take the spotlight off of me. So when you think about individuals and people showing up and acting out, as an adult, I can look at, when I was a teenager, it bothered me like crazy. When I was soon after leaving the school, I was very unforgiving of those people. But as an adult, I can look back and go, that was your stuff, and how can I let that go and move forward?
My husband was an Irishman. And my husband, the Irish people had to look down on somebody.
Yeah.
So they looked down on the black people.
Yeah.
And when he died, he went through so many changes because he grew up with those people. And when he died, I was walking the dog, and this man came, very, very dark man, came up to me and he said, are you walking that man's dog? And I said, well, he's my husband and he died. He said, that was the nicest man that I've ever met. And it broke my heart in a way because Huey learned so much, and it's what you teach in that wonderful Road to Justice, which takes people. This is another film that you all must see, Road to Justice. And the reason I say this is because when I saw it, I need to learn a lot too. And I tell this quickly story that you'll like this story. My mother was the social interpreter for the 10 top Russian ladies that came to the United States to meet the 10 top American ladies. And what I discovered, these fabulous ladies, they were so much fun, and they were exactly like us, but they were Russian. So kind of they're Russian. And this is why I'm so impressed with you, and why the second time I'm going to talk to you, I want to talk about your that part of you that's so amazing, that you bring people together. Now, did that come from Germantown Friends School? No. That came from your heart?
I think so. You know, when I was little, and people said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to make the world a better place." That's all I could say when I was little. I didn't say fireman, I didn't say teacher, I didn't say movie director. I said, I want to make the world a better place. And I had no idea what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but that was just a notion that I had. I always, from a little child, I had all these things about equity and balance.
From a child.
I played with marbles a lot when I was little,
Uh-huh.
and I had to have like 2 pairs going. It always had to be like, well, that one went, so that one should be able to go too. Like that was my little thing. That's just how I played. It was a thing I just had in me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that came from living a life where I saw inequity affecting my family and my experience. Maybe that was informed without me even knowing those words or what that meant. But that was just always something I had, of wanting people to have a possibility. And I think, you know, I grew up in a lower income neighborhood and went to a Catholic elementary school, and you know, I wasn't a kid that would fight, and I was always reading books. And I think that the neighborhood I grew up in, they didn't know what to do with me, you know, so that may have led to some of my confrontations that made me think about, well, how do we make it so everyone feels comfortable and just be who they are? So I think that it's just something inside of me. And it's interesting, the story about your husband, because I have a story similar about my father when he passed away. I didn't know my father very well at all. I saw him, he was there until I was about 6. My parents separated, we moved to North Philly, and he wasn't really a part of my life. You know, he would make promises of showing up and he just never did. And I don't know all the stories of what happened. When he passed away, my sister and I, you know, went to the bank to settle things, and we walked into the bank, and the bank teller goes, "Oh no," one we had never seen in our lives. This was in West Philadelphia, you know, and we looked at each other, and she was like, "Did he pass?" And we said, "Yes," but how do you know? She said, "Well," he said, "Well, you look like him," you know. And she started talking about how he was the most generous, kind, giving, shirt off his back kind of person. We didn't have that experience personally, for whatever reasons that I'll never probably understand. But we kept meeting people, and it felt more than like just people honoring someone who just died. Like people legit really spoke about it extra.
Was he a drinker?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's another thing that people always said about alcoholics. Oh, he's such a lovely guy. And the wife is at home killing herself because somebody, I happen to know about that one too. But that's interesting because they're always wonderful.
Yeah. So my point of that story is maybe those things are just inside of me, you know, by nature, from like some sort of biological inheritance.
It's in your genes.
Yeah. I'll take that.
My favorite show, one of my favorite shows is Finding Your Roots. Do you?
Yeah.
I adore that show.
Yeah,
and when it's in the genes and you find out that you, way back when I just love it. I just love that show. Anyway, so that you got to Germantown Friends School and you did this movie about were a prep school Negro. I think that must have been very difficult.
To go there?
Yeah.
It was. It was wonderful and horrible all at the same time. Like I loved it because I've met so many people. Folks are still my good friends.
Oh, and there was the guy who your mother worked in the factory,
Yeah.
and the guy in your class was the son. Oh, I cannot believe this. The son of the man who owned the factory.
Was in my class.
What do you do with that?
I said hi the first day. I was like, hey, our parents work together. Haha. It was like that kind of thing, you know? And he was kind of like, we're ninth graders. We don't know how to process that information.
Ninth
You know?
graders.
Yeah. We're ninth graders in this situation that,
Nobody helped you with processing anything.
yeah, people did help. I mentioned that teacher, Charlotte Baker.
Oh yeah.
You know, there's another woman there named Rita Goldman, you know, Roy Farrar. There were a handful of Black people who saw us and like jumped in. That's why I don't have time to teach at GFS right now. There's no time in my schedule to go teach, but I do it because I want to be that person that people see and can say, oh, this person is looking out for me and has my back, because I had that so intensely at the school, and that's how I survived. These people who were like, oh, I remember once I had this sweater that I loved. It was ripped up the side, you know.
Really ripped?
Oh, it was totally ripped. You know, just a 10th grade boy, just like goofing around.
Yeah.
And it was a really neat sweater that I don't know where I got it from. And this woman I don't remember her name, but her son's name was Jonah, and it was Jonah's mother. She said, "Come here." I said, "Yeah." She said, "Take that sweater off." And I said, "Okay." And she took it and she brought it back the next day and it was all sewed up, you know? And it's moments like that that made me go like, oh, and not that I didn't have family that didn't sew it, but I probably never let my mother see that I had this ripped up sweater that I was wearing to school. I'm sure she would have been like, "You're not leaving the house in that sweater." But, you know, kids, I thought I was being stylish.
They think it's great. The holes in the jeans.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Oh, it drives me crazy when you go to the Metropolitan Opera and you see these people, the hair, you can't even see their faces, and they got the ripped jeans. Oh my God. I mean, I have to tell you, one time I'm with my mother, Tommy, my brother, had a concert series, and he would ask the kids to change the stuff on the stage.
Mhm.
And my niece, Maria, came out. You only saw a nose, just like this. And she had this schmata on, and Mom said, "Dear, you've got to fix that." And so she made me go to the store to buy her something and to do something to the hair.
Mm.
So I did that, but I mean, that age is like you want to be.
It's fashion, Kathy. You're dressing like your friends.
Yeah.
You know, I tell people, like, we have nothing, we can't criticize it because they're not trying to attract or be involved with us in that way. And they're in their communities. And it's like, I do respond to the way people dress, but I'm also careful of not giving too much weight upon it, because sometimes it has nothing to do with you, honestly. And the way I talk about it is, you know, our parents saw, probably more so your generation, saw kids wearing dungarees. And that was the end of society.
Oh.
But we made it. We made it for dungarees,
I never wore
right?
dungarees until maybe about 2 years ago. I never could wear dungarees.
And dungarees, I wonder if people in the room know what dungarees actually really means. You know, they're jeans, but they were called dungarees back in I remember being a little kid and
They were work
talking about
clothes.
dungarees.
They were
Yeah,
work clothes.
exactly.
Yeah,
And now they're like the style.
the thing. Yeah.
So
Wow.
funny. So when I think about us critiquing what people wear, I say, well, let's look at time in history. Because where I teach now, the kids, and it's a thing, but the shorts are so short.
Oh my
You know,
God, you
and
can
it's
see
like,
the Vipka. I got to tell you, I had a theater
The Vipka.
a long time ago. I had a theater. It was a wonderful theater, and I did very well in it. And I asked the two girls in the neighborhood playhouse to be the ushers. And I came in and I thought, holy shit, what am I going to do? One of them looked like Clarabelle. The hair was the color of Clarabelle, and she was very heavy, and she wore a schmata. The other one was very beautiful, and she was naked from here. And I said, girls, listen, this theater is about older people. So in case they're, tomorrow, it's about the seasoned professional artists, people who are over the age of 50, and the audience is going to be kind of older, so maybe you could change it just a little bit. It didn't make any difference. She came in naked from here to
She
there.
probably became more naked.
Yeah, exactly. I said, Oh, and those short shorts. Oh,
But at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with us.
no, it doesn't. It doesn't. But,
But it's
like
our
you go,
job to be
"What?
adults to be like,
What?"
"Rrrr." But I don't try and make a child feel incriminated or like they're guilty or bad of a crime. I just say, as an adult, this is not my style, and I just want to make a note. And I leave it at that. 'Cause I don't want a child to feel like they're wrong because they're moving through. I want a person, any people, to make a decision that's good for them and
themselves
for the
when they're-
world.
Yeah.
But I also try not to push too many of my ideals on someone in what is a constantly changing world.
Yeah. It's, oh God.
It's hard.
It's very hard to do. But you've done an extraordinary job. And the most amazing thing is that you take young people, one of them is here right now, and he's so good for my heart. And you teach them in such a way that they are quite professional and that they are ready to step into the field that they choose, as opposed to some people that I do know that are older people who have no idea what they're doing. And they are anyway, never mind that. But when you decided I understand that you're taking Friends Select, Germantown Friends, and
Penn Charter.
And Charter.
And did you say GFS?
Yeah.
GFS, Penn Charter, Friends Select, and Friends Central.
Wow.
On the civil rights trip.
On the civil rights trip. Now, this is Road to Justice. I'm sorry, we have to get into this. When you take them, where do they stay?
So to stay in hotels. So the trip we're taking, we decided to bring 4 Quaker schools in Philadelphia together to build community. I think right now community is a very important word, and a very important movement and moment. And us being together and finding ways to collaborate and make it through these times is important. And so we're taking the trip. We're going to fly to Birmingham and then drive to Montgomery. They'll stay in the hotel in Montgomery, Alabama. And then we'll drive out to Selma for some events and drive back to Birmingham for something, then drive back to Birmingham and fly to Birmingham. And so we'll stay in the hotel in Montgomery, Alabama. Montgomery's great. It's a beautiful place.
Well, they're going to learn something very
They're going to learn a
important.
lot. They're going to learn a lot. I think so.
I think that the man who was the sharecropper, who was in your film, that's very interesting. You can go to a place. It's like I could never do what you're doing, because if I was trying to be helping Jewish people, I'd have to go to Treblinka and to Auschwitz, and there's no way in hell that I could do that.
Yeah. Heavy.
But you're doing it. You're doing it anyway.
Yeah, what the power, when I first went, I was nervous. I remember thinking like, oh, I want to go down south. And you meet these people who are just warm and wonderful. And on our trips, we try and spend time with people who actually, like you mentioned, our friend who grew up a sharecropper in Baptist-town. I'm trying to remember his name right now. I haven't seen your moment. But the man in Baptist-town, he's great. He what is this man's name? I can see him and see his wife.
I can see his
wife's
face
a really
too,
good
but
cook.
you got to see the film. And
Yeah,
you'll see him.
exactly. He was the same age as Emmett Till, and he was about 13.
He was the same age as Emmett Till?
He was 13 13 or so when it happened, maybe younger. He's probably a little bit younger than Emmett Till because he's younger now.
Oh my God.
But he was living his school was across the street from the Bryant Park grocery store. He told me that he did not know about the Emmett Till situation until he was in his 20s, because they intentionally kept the kids from the neighborhood knowing about it. So they knew the kids would go and throw rocks at the store and get in trouble. So the local people kept the local kids from truly knowing what happened. They didn't want them to go and get caught up in the mess. I mean, we think about it now, it is a national story, the whole world knew, but this is a small community where murder happened and it was squashed and kept quiet by many people. And then
they never found the people who did it.
They did. They did. They had a trial. They went to trial and they talked about doing it. And they got off after an hour-long deliberation. The case is really pretty famous. The jury deliberated for an hour, and part of that involved a Coke break. and they found the 3 guys innocent. The 3 guys walked down the street. I've been to where the courthouse is. This is why you visit these places. In Sumner, Mississippi. The courthouse is here. There was a magazine officer on the corner called Look Magazine. They walked out of the courthouse, walked around to Look, and sold their story for a couple $100 about how they killed Emmett Till. And these men were not indicted until much later, when various documentaries came about and stories of folks saying these men need to be indicted. And I think one was indicted and he was in his late 80s, but they were never truly brought to justice. But this is why Hoover is his name, Mr. Hoover, because he and his wife Mary Hoover told me stories. His wife Mary once told me, she said that growing up here, and this is in the Delta in Mississippi, growing up here, sometimes people just disappeared. She said, because she had 13 or 14 siblings, she told me, yeah, one of my siblings they just never came home. And there was no Emmett Till story, no big coverage. It was just the way things are. And that's how they lived. And this is why what Mamie Till did to push back and fight, and the world see how they abused him and have the bodies shipped back.
And the woman said it wasn't true.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Carolyn
God.
Bryant. And she actually acknowledged later on in her life that nothing truly happened in the story that led to that.
And what does she feel like? I hope what?
She apparently she didn't. She died a couple of years ago, and she never came forward and apologized for what happened. You know, this is why this
That's why this is so important. This road to justice is so important. And for a person, there's some white women about my age, I think, maybe even younger, but a little bit around my age. And the woman said that she was feeling so terrible because she realized that her family had slaves. And I thought, oh my God. And I suddenly thought, when we were growing up, there were people in our house that took care of us. And the man who took care of us, the man and his wife, he came to my mother and he asked my mother to teach him how to be a great butler. And, you know, Ma had a big house, and we had white people too, but we got this black couple that lived with us, went to Maine with us. And I thought, you know, you just don't think about it until you think about it.
Yeah.
And that's why that road to justice is so important for all of us right now. Right now, where this horrible thing is happening with the Muslims, what is this lunatic doing? Anything that is different color skin. If you have any color skin, you have to be careful because they're lunatics, these crazies. I shouldn't even say that, but it is true.
Yeah, no, it is. And here's a moment for you to think about, to connecting back to that discussion of church. Those 2 people that work for you, you know, and were traveling to Maine, think about what it meant for them to go out into their world and be running their institutions. Like that's that great connection moment of thinking about that, you know?
Well, I do remember that eventually he started to work for an automobile, you know, where they fixed the automobiles, and they moved into their own house. And she still did things like she came to the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they were like, this is so awful to say this, they were like family. You know, and that's what they said all the time about slaves. They were like family. It's disgusting. I mean, I should not say this because it sounds really not nice about what happened, but it was a time. Where everybody had people like that.
Yeah. This is America. I don't want to reveal too much. I have a new project that's come my way about an artist. I won't say more, but I'll just say this. He's an artist, and he's 99. You know, he's 99 years old, and he's still making art. And he didn't get much recognition when he was younger. And so I was talking today on a session with the crew, and I said, we do need to realize that we're working with someone that as a child, because he's born in 1926, he met people that were enslaved. And he had to live through this whole time in this world, you know, and struggle, finally get recognition at 92. At 92, he got a lot of recognition. And he spent his whole life just still making his art, taking care of his kids, working hard. And we have to acknowledge and admit and live in this space and talk about these things, about the economic divide in America and where folks are and how hard it is to change your financial situation when you come from certain circumstances. And to take it back to my notion of teaching and mentoring people, it is an effort to just encourage folks to believe that they can, because sadly, so much in society tells us that we can't. I have to fight it as an adult now.
Tells
still.
you can't? They should have a little learning process here.
Yeah.
He can do anything, anything. I'm telling you right now. And that's the thing that makes me so angry, because people, as you say, if they look at somebody and they say, oh, well, I've heard this a lot, that it could happen. But you know, it's the same thing. I told you this before. When I came to New York as an actress, I had black hair, and I was considered ethnic. I didn't work for a long time because I was ethnic. The blonde hair, blue-eyed girls were working. So it hits you here and there, whatever goes on, but it's not like what you have, because I don't walk in with a black face or black skin, and that's a big difference. Anyway, I'm talking about me, which is always ends up to be one of the things that happens here. I don't want to be talking about me, but let's see. What have we missed? No, we're not. We're going to do a whole other thing on his trips and his other films. Which are the film that I wanted to? This film is a great film. I just saw it. What is the name of it? I always forget the one about the man who did the.
Freeman Vines.
What's it called?
Freeman Vines.
Freeman Vines is what it's called?
Vines. Like the Freeman Vines.
Oh my God. And you have to watch this one too.
And that one's streaming. You can go to YouTube right now.
Oh really? This is tell about it.
Yes.
How to see
If
it.
you Google and look for Switchboard, Freeman Vines, it'll take you to YouTube, and the whole movie has been released online. It's 15 minutes long.
And it's wonderful. 15 minutes, by the way, folks. You want to only watch his. I shouldn't say that, but I'm telling you, only watch his, which is the last one.
Now it sits on its own. It's just, when you go to it, you'll just see Freeman Vines.
Okay. It's about a man who made guitars from the wood of the trees where people were lynched. Okay? You're going to want to see that film. It's pretty extraordinary.
People get tired of me talking about it when they talk about music, but I can't help it.
And it was made by this charming man. Now, I know we could go on and on and on, but I'm planning another time with him because he's so fascinating, where we're going to talk about some of the other things. I just don't want to go too long so that you turn this off. So I'm going to say that Andre is, please come back.
Of course.
He's going to come back.
Also important to say, because collaboration is so key. For Freeman Vines, I'm the co-director with my friend Tim Kirkman. That's important to stress and add.
Okay. He's the co-director. All I think of is he's the director. You see, this is what happens. And he did the most wonderful directing for my sister. And that's how I got to meet him. And so now we can say, Andre will be back, so I'm sure you will want to see him. And I also want to tell you that one of Andre's students, Dante, has set this whole thing up. And Dante is going to, we're trying to figure out what monologue he can do to get him into Yale Drama School. So if you have any ideas,
Is that a plan? Yale Drama School? Nice.
Isn't that nice? We have to find a monologue. So anyone who has a wonderful monologue to a handsome, young, 21-year-old
you would do so
person
well
of
at
color,
Drama School.
I want you to write me a little note and I will give it to Dante. He's gorgeous, divine, and talented. See you next time. Bye-bye.